This is your Barbados Today morning news update for Monday, October 26. Thanks for joining us. It's nomination day for the November 11 by-election in the St. George North constituency. 6 political candidates will be filing their papers at the Valley Resource Centre in St. George in a few hours' time. Tony Moore is carrying the Barbados Labour Party's flag, while Floyd REIFER is leading the charge for the Democratic Labour Party. The Opposition People's Party for Democracy and Development is being represented by David Walron, while Granville Phillips is the candidate for Solutions Barbados. Ambrose Grosvenor will represent the United Progressive Party and Alex Mitchell the Bajan Free Party. All candidates are upbeat about their chances ahead of the upcoming poll. In other news, a plea from residents of King Street in the city for police to step up action to arrest violent crime. The community was rocked at the weekend following a fatal shooting of a 20-year-old man. Around 7:20 p.m. on Saturday, Tremaine Cummins of Gills Road, St. Michael, was killed while he was riding his bicycle in King Street. He was shot several times by an unknown assailant. Residents say the violence must stop. The issue of crime was a major talking point on the campaign trail last night. Attorney General Dale Marshall mounted a strong defense of government's track record on tackling crime, dismissing calls by the Democratic Labour Party for his resignation. Speaking on the BLP's political platform at Tate Hill St. George, he listed the administration's achievements, including new legislation, new judges, and improvements to the police force. He declared that he was fully committed to wrestling the problem to the ground, but stressed that the fight will need the public support as he weighed in on the latest murder.
There are systemic failings in our society that caused that young man, if he was a criminal, I don't know. And I hope I've caused no offense. But I'm really only dealing with the fact that a large number of our young men who are charged with firearm offenses are in their very early 20s. So those are the ones that I'm focusing on. If I caused any offense, let me apologize to you. But our young men were not made criminals by this Barbados Labour Party. Our young men were made criminals by a system that failed them. You call the police after it has happened. But hopefully you should call the parent before. And I'm not making any excuses. But in the same way I said to my son last night, son, stay on the straight and narrow. We have a responsibility as the individuals who are in a position to guide our young men and women, to tell them in the early to stay away from that environment.
Meanwhile, Minister of Youth and Community Empowerment Dwight Sutherland announced plans to launch an anti-violence campaign this week.
We are not only waiting on the police to address deviant behavior in this country. We want to save our many young people in this country. And we have launched an anti-violence campaign this week in this country that we will take across the length and breadth of Barbados. So we are not only looking at jobs, we are looking at saving lives as well and giving people the opportunity. Those who have been incarcerated, tell them that's the word, can return incarcerated. Those persons not incarcerated, we don't understand that language, and we will give them a second chance. That's what we are about.
The DLP platform at Market Hill St. George, Democratic Labour Party President Verla de Pisa accused the government of being devoid of policies to arrest the vexing crime problem.
We get comments like, oh, if the Democratic Labour Party had put the scanners in, we won't have the guns. But just a few days ago, the Commissioner of Police said, we have the scanners and we still have the guns coming in. So there is something more than that. But not a single policy initiative. 2 weeks ago on Brass Tacks, Kerry Simmons said, oh, we're just talking about murders, but the rest of the crime is going down. It's just a perception. The Commissioner of Police put the light to that too. Aggravated burglaries and robberies have gone up significantly and exponentially in this country.
Meanwhile, DLP candidate Floyd REIFER signaled he has big plans for the people of St. George North as he released a mini manifesto last night. The plan focuses on youth, people, and community.
As your representative, I will actively lobby to remove all outdoor pit toilets. When I become your representative, I will actively lobby for road repairs across this constituency. We all know in St. George North how horrible the roads are. All over. Like, I know drive down Bridgescott Road, I had some coffee. I had coffee in the car and everything to on me. Our young people must have access to safe spaces like community centers where cultural activities can take place, where our young people can participate in wholesome educational activities in the performing arts like music, dance, drama, sports. Now people ask me, but REIFER, how you intend to get these community centers up and running? But you know what I tell them? Money follows great ideas. Definitely. Money follows people with integrity and credibility.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To regional news, health authorities in the Bahamas say COVID-19 patients will no longer have to test multiple times after they have successfully completed their quarantine. We get the details from Eyewitness News in the Bahamas.
Initially, health officials required 2 negative tests before COVID-19 patients would be allowed to reintegrate into society. But 7 months into the pandemic here at home, Dr. Nikhil Forbes, director of the HIV/AIDS and Infectious Disease Program, reveals that health physicians are now acknowledging clinical recoveries as the new way forward. Here's how it works. Once you have contracted the virus, health officials count 10 days from the first symptoms are presented. Then, after close monitoring, they count 3 days since the last symptom, whether it be fever, cough, shortness of breath, or muscle pain. Once a patient has had none of the above for 3 days, after the initial 10 days of infection, Dr. Forbes says they will no longer be shedding the virus and can be classified as clinically recovered and released without additional testing.
When somebody gets COVID-19, after a period of time, and if some conditions are met, they can be classified as recovered and be released from isolation. After that period, they won't be shedding infectious virus anymore, and this classification should be done by a healthcare professional or someone who's trained to do so.
But it's not the same for those who have experienced severe sickness, needed ventilation, or hospitalization.
For those persons, the time from the first symptom is actually 20 days, and they would have had to have no major symptoms for 3 days and no fever, and they could be clinically recovered.
It's a new idea which Dr. Forbes says may not sit well with many Bahamians, but she assures residents that it's a proven process which not only eliminates the hassle of multiple tests, but also lightens the burden on the healthcare system.
On the international front, the United States has seen its highest ever number of new COVID-19 cases in the past 2 days, keeping the pandemic a top election issue. More in this report from Reuters Television.
Health experts and elected officials are raising alarms about climbing coronavirus cases in the U.S. over the weekend. A Reuters tally found close to 80,000 new cases on Saturday. The day before, the U.S. hit 84,244, a single-day record. Hospitalizations have also hit a 2-month high and deaths are trending up. Kansas City, Missouri Mayor Quinton Lucas said he's worried his city's hospitals could soon be overwhelmed.
We continue to have independent reporting that shows that there is a significant outbreak in Kansas City, but importantly in the regions around us. So while our city has a mask mandate, there are counties all around Missouri and Kansas nearby that do not. A lot of those folks get sick. A lot of those folks have to go to hospitals, and there's hospital space in the cities.
He said it was difficult for any one mayor to control the spread without the help of the larger state and country, and urged a nationwide mask mandate to better control the pandemic. But there appears to be zero desire from the Trump administration for any sort of broad restrictions to curb the spread. White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows on Sunday told CNN, quote, "We are not going to control the pandemic. We are going to control the fact that we get vaccines, therapeutics, and other mitigation areas."
That's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.